Hey YouTube, Sack Guy here. Today I want to talk to you about the Victorinox Work Champ. This is a 6-layer 111 millimeter knife. The 111 millimeter comes out to about 4 5/16 inches. It is, don't need that anymore, 28.9 millimeters wide, which comes out to about 1 3/16 inches. It's 205 grams in weight, which is about 7 ounces. And opened with your master blade there, fully opened. Whoops, get it back into the screen here. It is 200 millimeters long. Comes out to about 7 3/4 inches. Now this is one of the early models, and where the scissors are at right here, the scissors in the newer models, they will have an additional implement along with the scissors. At this end will be a long inline Phillips screwdriver. As I said, this isn't an early version and it doesn't have that. Now this is basically the large version of the Champ, and I'll go through and show all the implements now. Now, as you noticed, it's a side lock, so when you open up the blade, in order to close it, you have to pull this button back, and then it'll fold up. Without pulling it, see that it locks up. So, and then we have the pliers, and just under the pliers is the short inline Phillips. Now, say something about this. I have found the inline Phillips to be very handy on several occasions, you know, dealing with the basically Phillips head screwdrivers. Phillips head screws. It does have a little stud right here, and see if you can see that right there. There's a stud right there. That is for opening it and assisting in closing it. Now this does not snap down. You have to use that little stud to push it to get it all the way down. Now these pliers can come in very handy if you're doing small tasks. They do open up a little bit, but again, they're for just like, for me, I've used it a couple times when I've gone camping, and I'll use this to grab the bail on a pot to pull it off the fire, or to grab things like you're trying to tighten, pull some, let's say some strings real tight. I've used that to grab things with, like that. There's a little notch right here that you can use to crimp things, and I have used that to crimp one or two things. But for me, that's not a big deal. I do like this knife for the size, the larger blade. And you also have the two saws. You have your wood saw and your metal saw, and the metal saw has coarse and fine files on it. And then of course you got your scissors. And then the can openers. The can opener and bottle opener. And then you have your tweezers and toothpick. And then on the back side you have your corkscrew, and you can add to the corkscrew, get one of the fine screwdrivers that go into the corkscrew if you want. And then you have your awl with the eye in it for sewing. And the key ring. Now I want to point out something here on the key ring. A problem I run into when I'm using the inline screwdriver is that sometimes when you're bringing it over, you'll get the key ring will get in the way. And then I've had a couple times where I've gone to close it and the key ring has fallen over it, and again it gets in the way. So you have to be mindful of the key ring when you're using the inline screwdriver. And as I said, in the newer versions where the scissors are at, you'll have a long inline Phillips. This particular knife I have used a few times when I first got it, but then it just kind of got a little bit too big to be carrying around. This definitely needs to be in some type of a belt holster just to make it more convenient. Also, it's getting borderline on the width as to being functional. Some of the larger knives, once they start getting wider, they're getting too wide to be functional. Plus they're getting so heavy. This one comes in at 7 ounces, which is fairly heavy. A Leatherman, which has several of the Leathermans have more tools on them, or the same number of tools but in a little bit more compact package, and the larger pliers on them. Now my Swiss Army tool weighs in pretty close to the same amount. It's about the same weight. It's got more tools on it and it's more compact because of the handles. So as I said, I have used this and it's a pretty neat knife, but it's not one of my favorites. If you don't have anything else, this is great, but it does have its limitations. It's cool to add to the collection, and I do like this type of locking. I'm not a big fan of the liner locks. I do wish that they would make the overhand one-handed trekker, not overhand, the one-handed trekker model as a lock, slide lock on it like that. I just so much prefer that. I do like the contour of the handles. Makes it a little bit easier to use, but that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And remember, always be prepared.